Okay, so let's look at E. E is discuss how external costs contribute to social costs of production, and consider whether a carbon tax will always lead to a socially optimal allocation of resources. So then it's the policy, carbon tax, whether it always lead to a socially optimal allocation of resources. Okay, so this is 8. 8 is 6 plus 2. 2 marks means you need to give an evaluation. It means you need to write a conclusion. Okay, so we start with the first part first. So there are two parts of the question, right? So one is this, whether external costs contribute to the social costs. And then it asks you to see whether a carbon tax is the best way to, will always lead to a socially optimal allocation of resources. Okay. Okay, so the first thing you want to do, you want to address number 1 first, right? So how does external costs contribute to social costs? So the first thing you want to do is you tell me, hey, what exactly is external costs? So external costs are costs basically on third parties in society who are not involved in the production and consumption of the good. Yeah. So if there is a firm and there's a consumer, they engage in a mutually advantageous transaction, but their transaction affects a third party, and how the third party is affected is then the external cost. Okay, so we settle that first. So it's done. Okay, then in the case of carbon emissions, what would it be? It will be healthcare costs from heat waves or drought. Ideally, you want the cost to be monetary. So if you can, try to make it monetary. So maybe that's why you want to link it to healthcare costs. Yeah, you can even link it to property damage from heat waves or droughts. Okay, if you can, okay, try your best. See whether you can link it to monetary. Then these are third parties. They are not part of the economic transaction. So I'm explaining what this MEC means in the case of carbon. Yeah. Okay, so the presence of the MEC, now I'm trying to relate it to social cost. So maybe let's call this one. Maybe let's use a different color. Use this, erase. Let's use a different color, it's orange. So then social cost, 1B. Social cost will be here. We want to link to social cost because that's what the question is asking us for. So external costs and how they contribute to social costs. So the presence of the MEC results in the increase in marginal social cost, or marginal social cost being higher than marginal private cost. So if you know what marginal social cost is, MSC social cost is equals to the sum of all private costs or resource costs plus the cost to the external third parties, right? So that's why when MEC is more than 0, MSC will be more than MPC. Yeah, this is shown in figure 1, so you just add in. So you can see here, MSC is here, MPC is here. Yeah, and that's divergent. Okay, so then I've answered the first one. Okay, how external cost contributes to social costs. Okay, then the next thing you want to do is before you want to, so actually by right, the next thing you should do, okay, maybe just give me use a different color. So the next thing you want to do is you want to explain how the carbon taxes will always lead to a socially optimal allocation of resources. But you first need to clarify what this is. What does socially optimal allocation mean? So that's what you want to do, right? So you say, okay, under the free market, people are self-interested, they will produce at Q, right? They overproduce lah. They don't care, so they're gonna pollute. That's why you are at Q. But then your socially so left to the free market equivalent, you'll be at Q. But then the socially optimal output and price is at Q star and P star, right? Where MSB equals to MSC and all external costs are fully accounted for, and society's welfare is maximized. So this, you want to first set up what exactly a socially optimal output is first. Okay. Then you say, okay, let's look at how the carbon tax does that. So the way then you explain the policy of the carbon tax. So next thing you want to do, you say, okay, so what exactly is a carbon tax? It's a compulsory levy imposed on producers where the firms have to pay a government a fixed fee for each unit of carbon emission that you generate. Okay, so this means that your cost of production will increase because in addition to paying for all the factors of production, you also have to pay the carbon tax if you are polluting. So the CO2 will rise, profits will decrease. So if the tax is equals to the MEC at Q star, what do I mean by this? It means that I'm shifting this blue color line, okay, I'm shifting it by the exact amount of the MEC at Q star. So the MEC is here, at Q star is here. So I'm shifting it exactly by this amount. I'm not shifting it this amount. I'm not shifting it by this amount. I am shifting it by this amount. It's over here. Oops. I'm shifting it by this amount over here. Okay. So let me clear the markings. So you're shifting it by the amount of the MEC. So that's why you're shifting this curve all the way up to here. Okay. To this amount. Okay. So if that's the case, then the tax must be equal to the MEC at Q star. It will cause the price to rise from P to P star. And when that happens, firms will decrease production from Q to the socially optimal level. So just answer the question directly. Q star. Okay. Okay, so we check this and we check this. Okay, this is 8. What I mentioned to you, so it's 6 plus 2. You want to make sure you check off the evaluation. Okay, so last part is evaluation. Say you can take a stand and say, however, maybe your carbon tax may not always lead to a socially optimal allocation of resources. So it was mentioned in extract 6, if you see here, that that in 2023 it was supposed to be increased by between $10 and $15 by 2030, but they review this. Actually, if they review this, the reason is quite practical, because if it's imposed in Singapore and not in neighboring countries, it could potentially give competitors a cost advantage. So they do have to keep reviewing it, which suggests that actually the amount of tax may be insufficient. Insufficient or too little or too much. Okay, so so this suggests that even though a carbon tax is charged based on the amount of emissions, the government may not be able to set the correct level of the carbon tax that reflects the full MEC. So you can get it wrong. So going back, you can maybe shift it too much, because you make your goods and services less competitive, or you can shift it too little, right, which doesn't fully correct the market failure. Okay. Okay, that's it for question E.